The number of teams canceling their spring games continues to grow by the day. Are they going extinct? What's going on, Canes fans? Now, before you hit the panic button, do not worry. The Miami Hurricanes will still be hosting their spring game as scheduled Saturday, April 12th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time at Cobb Stadium. So it's going to take place at the same place that it did last season. And spring practice overall is about to kick off. It's coming up real soon, Monday, March 3rd. So if you want to stay up to date with everything going on with the Miami Hurricanes and spring practice, including some clips from practice, make sure that you're subscribed to this channel. So I guess a lot of teams have decided that spring games are just not that important. NC State, Nebraska, Texas, USC, Mizzou, and many others have already put out official statements letting the fans know that there will be no spring game this year. I guess you could also lump Florida State in there if you wanted to. I know they're saying it's due to the renovations at Doak Campbell Stadium, but obviously you can hold a spring game somewhere else if you really wanted to. And I know that Mike Norvell anyways doesn't really do a typical game. He does a spring showcase. And there are other teams, obviously, that don't do games. They do like just situational type stuff. Everybody does it a little bit different, right? But it just feels weird for them to be going away entirely. It's been part of college football for so long. And I want to ask you the question, and I want to see as many responses as possible down in the comment section. Do you think the spring games are important? And do you think that they should remain part of college football and the experience? I've been very vocal on this channel since day number one. And I've always said that I feel like spring games are really just fan engagement and about boosting revenue. That's really honestly about it. That's just the reality of it. I know a lot of people talk about, depth chart stuff, and maybe you could argue that it simulates game day for the players, but really the coaching staff can evaluate these guys just as well during spring practice and closed scrimmages. And right now, the argument really with the teams is injury number one, which we're going to address that. I'll give my thoughts. And also some transfer portal stuff, some poaching from other teams. We're going to talk about that as well. But I do want to talk about the importance of spring games, because even though I say that they're really just a fan event, it doesn't mean that they're not important, because I think that it's a very big deal for fans to feel connected with the team that they root for, the players and the coaches. And during the spring games, it's such a unique and different event when compared to a game day, right? Because, the players and the coaches are locked in. They can't really necessarily make time for the fans until after. And for a spring game, it's a little more laid back. And I mean, heck, they usually even have some type of event where you can do a meet and greet. So you get to meet the players and sometimes even the coaches face to face and shake their hand. And I think that that's actually really important. And it can even provide an opportunity to create some new lifelong fans, because people can bring their kids to these things, and that can really make a big impression on them in their life. And it's also super affordable as well. I mean, a lot of times, sometimes they have limited tickets. It can be first come, first serve, or sometimes it's even free, but you can have some great seats, better than what you could get on game day. And a lot of times some of those game day tickets are real expensive. So for the spring game, I know people that don't make an actual game during the season because they can't afford it or can't make time for it because it's their busy time during work. But for the spring game, they travel and bring their whole family to it. So yes, I do think that they are important, and I think that at least in some sort of capacity, there should be some type of event where the fans can come and get together, that, the players go through some drills or an actual game scenario. And I think that it's something that should stay. Now, the argument here about injuries, in my opinion, I think that's really kind of completely irrelevant. I know that that does mean more football, which means more hitting if you do like live tackling and stuff. But football is a violent sport. So, you could get hurt any day of the week playing football. Heck, you could get hurt during the practices and the close scrimmage. So, I don't really think that that's really necessarily an argument. I mean, I get it, but I don't at the same time. You know what I'm saying? And also, the big thing right now, and this is what coaches are saying, is when they have the spring game, pretty much almost immediately after that, the spring portal window opens. And you see quite a bit of movement here. There are players that realize, hey, based on my performance, I'm probably not going to be seeing any playing time this year. I got beat out by 2 other guys. I should probably hit the portal. Well, what happens is some of these guys, you see flashes from the spring game, and hey, not everybody follows the rules necessarily, and you're going to have maybe some contact made, or just coaches worried about players being poached because then they have some additional tape from the spring game. I understand, I guess, where they're coming from with that, but again, why do the fans have to suffer because of that? There are already so many fans that like the transfer portal, and it's benefited, Miami for sure, and your team probably as well. It giveth and it taketh away. You're going to have some players leave, and that's really just kind of part of the game now. It's how it works. So if a guy is unhappy, do you really want him to stay? If a guy hasn't earned playing time, would you like for him to stay and you have an opportunity to develop him? Sure. But if he's going to leave, he's going to leave. And it just is unfortunate that fans are having to suffer because of this. And the game is going to change. Times change. It's life. Things aren't always going to remain the same. It's just how things are. And I get that, but again, spring games, the game itself is just really not that important. I'll just say it. It's not. Again, I don't think that they use the spring game really to figure out a pecking order when it comes to the depth chart. I mean, sure, maybe they do factor it in a little bit. You can look at effort and some other things. But, I mean, a lot of times, again, situational stuff. First team versus second team, or second team versus third team. If you heard a big bang, my dog just fell off of the couch. He was asleep. Anyways, it's really not that big of a deal. It's just to provide some interactions for the fans to get them hyped up. But when I say just, that's all it is. Again, I'm not saying that it's not important. I think that maybe you could argue that it's not essential. It's not something that has to happen. But college football fans, man, it's a family. That's why we always say one big happy college football family. A lot of times people even tailgate for the spring games. So I think that it's a bad idea to get rid of them entirely. I think that at the very least, if a team is not interested in going through all of that, they should do something. I don't know, host some sort of event. I know that every team is in a different situation, and it can be totally different for each of them. I understand that. But I don't think that they should just do nothing. If you just do, especially in today's times, with how fast news travels, let's use Miami as an example. Not a whole lot of news comes out from the spring practices, which I totally get. You don't want to just lay everything out there for the opposing teams to be able to research and find out things about you. But there's not a whole lot of excitement for the fans. You don't know really much of what's going on at practice. Closed scrimmages, they typically don't really give you the stats or anything from that, or if they do, it's just bits and pieces, and then no spring game on top of it, right? There's no excitement there. There's no fan engagement in the off season, and I think that that's crucial. Really, I do. And so I'm just going to say, man, that I understand where the coaches might be coming from and thinking about the bigger picture here and trying to take a step back and set fandom and stuff to the side. But I think that it's a terrible idea to get rid of this stuff. And I think that they're downplaying the importance of it when it does come to the fans and the fan engagement and stuff. And I don't know, man, maybe I'm in the minority, but that's just my opinion. So like I said, just let me know down in the comment section below. Obviously, I didn't name off every team that has canceled their spring game. I was just naming a few of them, and maybe they end up seeing some backlash and they change their mind. I mean, you had some teams talking about guys possibly being kind of tired and, beaten up and stuff, and they played late into the season, with the CFP and stuff. But, man, they've had several months in spring, and like I said, you can do the situational stuff. You can do the spring showcase. You can set it up kind of however you want it to be, but there needs to be some sort of event, some kind of gathering, something to bring the fans together and keep the hype there and get everybody excited about the season coming up. I don't know. That's just my opinion. Remember, though, guys, we're all one big happy college football family, but at the end of the day, I got to say, it's always better when you get to rep the U. Coach Coop, peace out. I'll see you all in the next one.